Hey there, everyone. It's Rob Ryder, and it's Monday, April 19th, 2021. And, well, the title of this video is Newport News is an Alien Enemy Belligerent. I hope to prove that, right? Because as far as I can see, corporations are subject to public international law. And public international law, there's only two branches. You got the laws of peace and the laws of war. Well, we're under the laws of war right now, and so corporations subject to public international law would be subject to the laws of war. And the laws of war, well, those cases aren't heard in like a federal court like you believe, or a state court. No, they'd be heard by a military tribunal. So, that was part of my video last week then. This is kind of a tie-in to it with other reasons for having done it, but my last video was, is your state governor, should say an alien, unprivileged enemy belligerent? Because I say the governor didn't take the proper oath of office, therefore that's an act of treason. King Henry VIII said it, I didn't, right? He had a guy executed because he failed to take his loyalty oath, right? So common law, act of treason is the failure to take a loyalty oath, which the people pretending to be the governors and senators and representatives and judges and on and on and on, they have not taken the oath to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution. Right, so I was trying to put something into the Office of Military Commissions, and that was what the video was about, right? And so I put one in against the governor, and I explained how I'd done it and so forth. And I wrote something else up about Nancy Pelosi, just picked one congressman, and I filled that out and sent it in, and one of the things you find out when when I was doing this was that, there's very few people to contact. Because at the Office of Military Commissions, there's a guy called the convening authority, right? And he's the one that makes the determination. But they don't give you any way to contact him. All I give you is how to contact by the media and, what's this one down here? By the webmaster. So more on that in my next video. I'm just saying that had something to do with the reason I titled the video the way I have and the way I'm approaching it. But the video itself is going to be about a particular court case that's happening in Newport News. Now, Newport News is a municipal corporation, and it has a charter. And part of the duties of having that charter is to enforce the laws. Well, within Newport News' boundary, then, is a court that's simulating a legal process under color of law and denying due process. So it's Newport News' fault that's happening. Doesn't matter that the court says it's a court of Virginia, right? It's happening within the boundaries of Newport News, and it should be their duty to do something about it. But of course they haven't. They're participating. Well, that makes them an enemy belligerent. And so, if a lot of the videos you'll see soon is just me looking at all the different documents in a court case and having gone through and marked all the things that are suspect or, just blatantly wrong, right? And yet, this gentleman spends a year and about 6 to 8 months in jail. And as we'll see, he didn't even have an arraignment until the day that he was released. Right? It was all fictitious up until then, and then they have him sign a piece of paper, and now we'll do the arraignment, and we'll get into it here in just a second, but it make you shake your head. So yeah, this is Rob Ryder, and my email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. Easiest way to get a hold of me, right? COURTOFRECORD@aol.com. Phone number 616-712-6179. And, Rob Ryder is my avatar. I am Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Berlusky, United States Army veteran. And if you're a veteran, don't let them take your rank from you. They never gave you any paperwork to release you from the custody and control of the military. You're still in. So, give me a minute here and I'll load a few things up and you'll have a better idea what I'm talking about here in just a second. So hang on. So what I'll be talking about is something that should have happened in this court here called the Newport News Circuit Court. Right? That's what the Virginia judicial system calls the court. Newport News Circuit Court. So you would believe, well, that should be the name of, on all the documents saying, well, that's the court this is in. And, we're going to find out that that isn't hardly ever true. All right. So, I mean, here's just a few of the differences I found by looking at all the documents that we're about to look at. So, for instance, it's got 3 different names of courts, right? It's got Newport News Circuit Court, Newport News Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court, and the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. Now, this is just one case, right? There's just one charge, and yet there's 3 different courts involved. We got 4 different styles of indictment numbers, 3 different styles of court cases, and 4 different styles of names used for the defendant, and 5 different names used for the styles of names used for the plaintiff. Right? We got seals or stamps from the clerk, right, for the circuit CT, CLK, which are led to believe that's circuit clerk, which it could be. Right? So let's say Circuit Court Clerk Office, City of Newport News, Virginia. You got the Newport News Circuit Court, which that should be the proper court. I mean, that's the name that matches what's on the website. You got the Newport News JDR Court. And then, see, in this case, it's Newport News Circuit Court, Angela F. Reason Clerk. And we have another one where it's Gary S. Anderson Clerk, Newport News Circuit Court. And then 2 different styles of city names, and so forth and so on. I mean, there's just, these are the errors that I found just by looking at, forgetting what they wrote in the documents. This is just the stuff on the outside edges, right? Are we even talking about the right case for the right person? Let's start there. And as you see, there's all sorts of things, well, as you can see, that are examples of things that are wrong. And this isn't just in the state court. This is, I've shown this before, right? This is General Flynn, right, where he was being tried in 2 different cases, right? Michael T. Flynn is a defendant in 2 cases. If you look at the case numbers, they're exactly the same, except one has a -1 on the end, and it says Michael T. Flynn by itself, right? And the other one is USA versus Flynn. Well, he wasn't being tried in 2 cases. He was being, tried in 1 case is what you were led to believe. But no, there's actually 2 cases going on. And this is done in any criminal case done in a federal court. Right? There's 2 cases going on. And it's always like this, where you have USA versus whoever. And then you have the whoever using a variation of their name as the defendant in the other case. And I think I had this is the information that was put in on that case. Right? So this is, one of the 2 case numbers there. United States of America versus Michael T. Flynn. Well, Michael T. Flynn is not the general's name, right? There's no birth record in the name Michael T. Flynn for anybody. So it's not a person or a people. It's a thing. Right? So a thing is being tried by United States of America, which is not the United States. The United States of America is a dominion of King George III and his successors. Started, comes all the way back from the Treaty of Peace, 1783, where King George is ticking off the things that he claims ownership of, or, part of his title. And one of them is United States of America, without the at the beginning, just United States of America. Right? Well, that's what's on a passport. That's King George's jurisdiction. The other jurisdiction is the United States of America, with the T capitalized, and that's in the Articles of Confederation, right? And it's on the money. So, he's being tried by somebody who's pretending to be the government, basically. Because this court is not a constitutional court, because the judge sitting there did not execute the oath to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution. And I pointed out so many videos, I'm not going to do it again anymore in this. I'm just trying to show you that, this is the shit that happens, right? None of these courts are a court where you're going to get any relief at. So, yeah, give me just a second again. Okay, and just real quick, in Title 10, this is where the military commissions comes in, because I'm going to do this video and there'll be some attorney or somebody will put some crazy ass comment in or something, and who want to parse words or whatever, and I'm not into that shit, right? All I want to do is convince the military, right? And then they'll take care of it, because the jurisdiction of a military commission is really this simple. A military commission is a competent tribunal to make a finding sufficient for jurisdiction. It gets to decide if it has jurisdiction. Right? Well, to do that, you need to get your document to the convening authority. And as I showed here, they're not giving you any way to contact the convening authority directly. They just give you, you get to contact, public relations, basically, or the webmaster. So, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means, well, it isn't right there in front of us, right? But it's easy enough to find out who the convenient authority is. So in this case, I pointed out in my other video, and I'm just showing, right? If, the idea for me is just to get it to that person and let him decide if he has jurisdiction and get everybody else out of the way. It'll be a wonderful day if we ever get there. And then really quick, just this is Title 8, United States Code, Section 1481, talks about loss of nationality by native born or naturalized citizens, voluntary action, burden of proof, right? Well, one of those things is if they commit an act of treason against or attempting by force to overthrow or bearing arms against the United States, right? If they violate these particular sections of Title 18, which have to do with insurrection, rebellion, and aiding the enemy, and I don't remember what the other one is exactly, but hey, they're all right there, 23, 83, 84, 85, right? Boom, boom, boom. If you violate any of those, commit an act of treason, you voluntarily give up your nationality, which makes you an alien to the United States, and now you could be an alien, unprotected, enemy, belligerent. I believe that's the title they use for him. So, what do we have to look at here? Let's look at this, right? So, well, this is, starting kind of after the fact, because the guy is now Anwar. He's out of jail, back home, and, trying to figure out what to do. So, what he wanted to do was appeal his case, and because he paid the appeal price, well, he got this packet of documents, right? And so right off the bat it says Newport News Circuit. Well, that's not the name of the court. It's Newport News Circuit Court, right? And that's not the Commonwealth of VA. It's the Commonwealth of Virginia. So other places it will be Commonwealth of Virginia. Some places it'll just be Commonwealth, but on this, it's Commonwealth of VA. So Newport News Circuit is not the name of the court, and Commonwealth of VA is not the name of the plaintiff. Right? With this particular case number, and they have Anwar's name backwards, right, with Congress, Anwar Farah. And they put your name backwards with a comma. That's signifying that is your legal person, not your natural person. I'm basing that on the fact that I did get a DNB number, Dun & Bradstreet number, in my name, Robert Allen Rutluski. But on many of the documents, they have flipped it around backwards and put a Rutluski, Robert Allen. Right? I didn't tell them to do that. They did it. But what that is, it's a legal person, right? Because I got an EIN number for that name. It's not my Social Security name now. It's my EIN number name. And they did it anyways. So what's in here? Well, we got warrants of arrest, a capias order. So why do you have a warrant for arrest, which is used in criminal matters, and a capias, which is used for, like if you're in contempt of court, right? But that's what they did. Evaluation order, where I had to go have a psychological exam, but they've sealed the report. In fact, it's not even in here. And it just gets started from there, right? So I, Angela F. Reason, clerk of the Newport News Circuit, right? Not the Newport News Circuit Court, the Newport News Circuit, certify the contents of this record listed in the table of contents, constitute true and complete record, except for the exhibits. So you know, if you're in a court case, I don't think you can just go get this stuff without having paid for the appeal. But, you know, so be it. But anyways, this is supposed to be the case number, right? CR19, da, 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 da. And then we go down to the arrest warrant. And, you know, well, what's this case number? This ain't got nothing to do with this number up here. All right, so on the first page, the case number is different. Still got to have his name backwards. It didn't say Newport News. Well, it says city or district, so, or city or county. I don't know if it needs to say, the proper name for Newport News is the city of Newport News, right? So, but the name of the court, I believe, is Newport News. Well, they don't have it on here, Circuit Court, right? We got this stamp here, and this stamp actually uses, it's JDR, right? So it's the JDR stamp. It's not the circuit court. Nobody, you know, initialed to say they did it. So how do you know who put this on there, had the authority to put it on there in the first place? And, well, this goes on for there, right? Officer is complainant, not the mother. I, the undersigned, have found probable cause to believe that the accused committed the offense charged based on the sworn statement of, right? Of who? OFCR, Lacoste, Lassock, S. Right? Who the hell is that? You know. So, it's not like, you know, somebody in their full legal name is the complainant and signed to their complaint that somebody who doesn't exist made up this complaint. Now, we're supposed to believe that indicates some particular officer of Newport News Police Department, but, you know, that's not her name. So there is no police officer named Lacoste, comma, S. Or Lassock, Lasoki. Waiver of preliminary hearing. Now, he never had a preliminary hearing either, right? Spent 6-8 months in jail, never had a preliminary hearing. Yet he never waived his hearing. All right, so recognizant. This is supposed to be the name of the court. There should be Newport News Circuit Court. But it's not. It's just Newport News Circuit. Well, there is no court named the Newport News Circuit. And let's see. Circuit Court. I don't know if I can read that one. Hang on a second here. Yeah, I believe the one we're looking at is this one right here. Circuit CT Clerk Office, City of Newport News, Virginia. Right, which is, where are you? Right here. Right, so we got one court stamp on one document and a different place on another document. And that's just kind of the way they do things. And by the way, what Anwar was being charged with is a felony, right, for custody visitation violation outside of VA. Not outside of Virginia, outside of VA. Where the hell is that at? Right, now, Anwar was living in North Carolina at the time. So, you know, and here we got Commonwealth of Virginia versus last name, comma, first name. See, it's not last, first, middle, because there's no comma between Anwar and Farr. It's just last, first, which goes to show you that your second name, if you have one, right, is considered part of your given name. It's not a first in the middle. And custodian name below. Oh, there's nobody named. All right, now this is supposed to be the indictment. All right, this is what started this whole, well, to get the arrest warrant and so forth going, right? So here's the indictment number, R1900030. Now you're going to see this number, and when I talk about indictment numbers, changes. There's actually some where it starts with 30 and has 19 at the end. right? But this indictment wasn't done by the Commonwealth of Virginia, right? This isn't a circuit court, or I mean a grand jury of the Commonwealth. This is in the circuit court for the city of Newport News. All right, this is apparently a city court in the city of Newport News. But when you go to the city's website and you look through their Muni code, it doesn't say they have anything called the circuit court for the city of Newport News. Yet there it is. All right, so a grand jury of some city says that, Anwar did these things. Now, if you look at how this thing has been all buggered up, right, this all happened. Look at the date here. This is January 14th, 2019. And this is amended on 10/13/2020. Right? So up until October 13th, 2020, none of the scribbling was on here. It was going to be for a felony. Well, then they got him to plea deal, basically, right? And they came in and changed all this stuff afterwards. Right? Instead of having it kidnapping, which is what they were charging him for, made it a felony to do the dirty work they're going to do, they dropped it down to a misdemeanor so they could cover their ass for what they had done. Because at the end of the day, they got him to sign a piece of paper. He agreed that, he was guilty. So this is interesting. Now, this is one of the documents that Anwar was trying to put in early on in his own defense, right? So he wanted to put it in the Newport News Circuit Court because that's the frickin' name. Right? There it is, Newport News Circuit Court. That's where he wanted to file his documents. But where did they put it? The Circuit CLK office, City of Newport News, Virginia. They didn't put it in the Newport News Circuit Court. Although we're going to see that there's a stamp for one. It does exist. How come it didn't go into that court? And we have another style of case number. Right now, this time it's the Virginia. Well, actually, I can't say that because Anwar did this, so I can't comment too much on what the document says, other than the fact that he wanted to go to Newport News Circuit Court, and it didn't. Right, so this is why I'm not really so interested in what people put into court cases, because I can't make anything with that. It's probably done wrong anyways, because they don't tell you the right way to do it. So people just do it the way they think it should be. And it doesn't mean it ends up in the right place. Right? Because, what do we got here? This is an order, right, to get a writ of capias against Anwar because he didn't show up to some hearing. Again, this is back in 2019. So for all of 2019, they're kind of trying to chase down Anwar. And then finally in 2020, they get him. They put him in jail. They hold him until October. When he finally signs a piece of paper, he gets to have his arraignment, which is like the first thing you're supposed to do. There wasn't any arraignment until the end. Right? But this isn't the circuit court for the city of Newport News. It's not the right court. This isn't the Commonwealth. Look, it's not Commonwealth of Virginia. It's just Commonwealth. And this has got the, you're led to believe that, well, this is the indictment number, IND, but it doesn't say that. It's an IND number. Right? And it's backwards. This is the number that was on the indictment, R19 with a space 00030. But that isn't on here. Right? But they're saying, hey, he didn't show up to the circuit court for the city of Newport News, so they're going to have a capias issued. Now, there's no seal, no signature block, no file stamp. I mean, what is this? Just a piece of paper. And here's another one, right? The same thing. It's not the Commonwealth. Well, here it says Commonwealth of Virginia. So let's look at that. This one says Commonwealth of Virginia. This one doesn't. This just says Virginia, which isn't the proper name. It's either, State of Virginia or Commonwealth of Virginia or something else. It's a different jurisdiction. But they're saying this is just Virginia. This is in the jurisdiction of Virginia. Hey, we have another style of indictment number used. Right? This one don't have any spaces. It's all run together. And again, this is what's on the indictment. There is no C. It's not CR. It's just R. 19 with a space. 3 zeros, a 3, and a 0. Here it's, CR 19 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 3, 0, right? So they filled the space with a 0. Well, they changed the frickin' number. Different style of number. Supposedly done by, what is this supposed to be anyways? Present. C. Peter Trench, a Tench, judge. I motion the pro se defendant and the concurrence of the Commonwealth. These matters are continued until February 19th. All right, docket call. Excuse me. Here we go again. Circuit Court of the Circuit of Newport News. I think the right one. It's interesting they give this guy a FIPS number, which is federal. Let's go look that up. Okay, so first, a FIPS is a Federal Information Processing Standard. Publicly announced standards developed by National Institute of Standards Technology for use in computer systems by non-military American government agencies and government contractors. Okay, well, a FIPS 700 is for Newport News City. All right, so that's, what the federal government says the name is. But there'll be places where they say that they're the city of Newport News. They don't call themselves Newport News City, but the federal government does. Right? So this jurisdiction that we're in is foreign to what the federal government says it should be. Right? FIPS 700. So that's where the judge is at. Right? That's Commonwealth again. It admits of Virginia. It's got a different style of frickin' indictment number. Came this day, attorney for the Commonwealth and Anwar, hereinafter the defendant. Court issued a capias for arrest. Defendant have been arrested on the 12th. The court continues the matter. All right, so he's been arrested. And this is what you do when they put you in jail is say, they don't give you anything. When I was in jail, they gave you, you wanted to write something, they gave you the inside of the pen. Not even a pen, just that little plastic thing. You had to hold on to that and try to write on a blank piece of paper. What a joke. All right, but welcome to America. This is how they treat veterans in Newport News, Virginia. All right, here again, Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. Not Newport News City, which is what the FIPS code goes to. So this is a, simulated legal process under color of law. Another indictment style. And so now the only place where, it looks like they use the right names and they're doing it the right way is when they were doing these things for psychological evaluation, where, it is the Newport News Circuit Court. That's the proper name of the court. And it is the Commonwealth of Virginia, but it's really not Congress Anwar Farah. It's Anwar Farah Congress. Right? That's his full legal name. So they even, they flipped his name around. More. We got plenty of paper to look at. Name of the proper court. This says Newport News Circuit Court. Right? So that court has a stamp, and this stuff could go into that court, but that isn't where they're putting it. There it is again, Newport News. Then we go down here and, right, Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. Well, that's not Newport News Circuit Court. Well, a new case number, right? It's, Now here's the, here's a place where they have the names right. This Commonwealth of Virginia. That sounds like it's the proper name of Virginia. And Anwar Farah Congress. Well, that is the guy's full legal name. So that could be a court case for kidnapping under this code, right? But the case number is different than anything we've seen before. So it's like this is a different case even being held in the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News than right? This is the indictment number on this, right? So there's just no consistency whatsoever. And so if it's just one or two things, you can say, well, they just made a mistake. You know, that's all. It's just a mistake. Don't worry about it. No, it's intentional. All right, now we're at all caps, right? Before it was proper case, now it's all caps, Commonwealth of Virginia, with another style of case number. And, okay, so all caps Anwar. Now he wants to substitute counsel of record. Put in some more paperwork, right? Before, on the psychological paperwork, it was Congress, comma, Anwar Farah. Now it's Anwar Farah Congress. Newport News, city, according to the Phipps code, or city of Newport News, according to the way they do it some places. But it is the circuit court. Got his name backwards. You know, that's proper, Commonwealth of Virginia, but they have his name backwards again. Well, just the one before, it was the other way around. Now, Angela F. Reason, right, she is the clerk of the Newport News Circuit Court, but there's no stamp on her saying that's who she is. It's clerk of the court. Well, what court? Right? They didn't really identify what court it is on this document, but I know from her name that she claims to be that clerk of the Newport News Circuit Court. What are all these anyways? Tracking documents, right? This all has to do with the evaluation. And we go back to Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. We got a new freaking case number. Right, but it's still the same guy. It's Anwar against the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, this is interesting, right? This is what was put in. Actually, we're going to see that this is a document that was filed by Anwar's attorney. Right, so a person learned in the law did this. So this is the front side, and on the back of that sheet, apparently, or it's a blank piece of paper stuck in here, but either way, on the back side is Newport News Circuit Court. Angela F. Reason, there she is, the clerk. Right, but that isn't the name of the court that's on the document. It's Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. Now, what did they do with Anwar's? Because he wanted to put one into the Newport News Circuit Court, and they had it go into a different file than the Newport News Circuit Court, which does exist because there's its stamp. But when he tried to put one in by putting that name on the court, that isn't where it got filed. It got filed someplace else. And we'll continue on here, right? So this is his counsel doing for this. So Anwar had nothing to do with this. It was all done by his counsel. Right? Michelle E. Mordew. Oh, no wonder. She's an esquire. Esquires are agents of the crown. An esquire is not a title of nobility. That would be a knight. But esquires work for knights. And below esquires are the stable hands, which are called misters. Right? This is why they want to call you a mister, because you don't have any rights as a mister in the esquire system. You don't have any civil rights in their system. So now this is the letter written by this esquire, right? Put into an envelope with what we had just looked at, where she's writing it to the Newport News Circuit Court. That's the proper court. She's got all this proper, right? The Commonwealth of Virginia versus Anwar Farah Congress. Yeah, that's all perfectly fine. And if they say this is the case number, then so be it. But let's go back real quick and look at this. All right? That's not the court it went into. It may have this, I think this number is the same, CR 19-0030-00. But it's not the same court. Right? She did that. Right? Well, that's malpractice. Has to be something. Right? It's certainly not helping your client any. And this got filed into the Newport News Circuit Court. Right? So there's a record in the Newport News Circuit Court that this attorney filed this piece of paper, enclosed the filing. Please find a motion for discovery and inspection of proposed order by way of copy of this letter. I respectfully request Commonwealth Attorney forward same to the entry upon execution. Right? But it's not going to go into the Newport News Circuit Court. It's going to go into the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. That's malpractice. Well, actually, it's, it's fraud. It's a crime against the United States. These are the sealed documents. I mean, what was sealed? I don't know. They're not in there. Wrong court name, incomplete, different kind of indictment number again. Right now we're, September 15th. So, Anwar, I think it said February 2020, he got arrested under a capias. Right? Not under the arrest warrant, but under the capias. Hauled into, they actually got a governor's warrant from the governor of North Carolina so that they could do this to bring him back to Virginia. They never properly executed it, but they got the piece of paper. Looks professional, looks real, but it was not properly done. Well, again, in the circuit court. I can't read that stamp. Okay, we're almost done with these. But here she is again doing something. So she put this in. Now, what does she put in? All right, this is that same thing. Except now, notice in motion to vacate or set aside orders, right? But this number here doesn't match the number she used before. Right? It's not CR 19-0030-00 anymore. Now it's 0003-019. Or CR 19-000030-00. They're different court case numbers. So you got different court case numbers in the same court, and then you have, different court case numbers in different courts. But it's all being done by attorneys. So the attached order was received in the clerk's office of the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News on the date and time stamped hereon, which unfortunately can't really read what it says, but it's October 7th. And this is interesting. This is where, they finally end up doing something. So this is October 13th, 2020. All right, under this indictment number, which again is different than all the other indictment numbers we looked at. Right, this is the number that's on the indictment itself, R19. This is not R19. Right, just the Commonwealth, not of Virginia. Amend to custody violation. So this is what they're going to do, right? That this day came the attorney for the Commonwealth, that'd be Travis White, and Anwar for our Congress, here and after referred to as defendant, who stands indicted of a felony for kidnapping, who appeared via video. Also came Michelle Helms, the defendant's attorney. Well, that's not her full legal name. I mean, she used it, but they didn't use it. And you got Sue Ronan. She's going to be the court-appointed court reporter. That's not her full legal name. Right? There's nobody's birth record with Sue Ronan on it. Nobody's birth record with Michelle Helms on it. So these people are improperly identified. Right? They got Anwar, got his full legal name, but none of the attorneys do. Whereupon, prior to arraignment, prior to arraignment, the attorney for the Commonwealth moved the court to amend the within indictment to custody violation of one offense, da-da-da. And we saw that early on. That was the page. It was all messed up, right? They changed it all. They said they did it in October, right? About the same time this order is being written, which is prior to arraignment. Whereupon the defendant was arraigned. And on the advice of counsel, the defendant pleaded guilty to the amended indictment. And a plea agreement executed by the attorney for the Commonwealth, the defendant, and the attorney for the defendant was presented and disclosed to the court in open court. Oh, that's what you guys want to do. You finally decided. After holding the man for 6-8 months, well, now we can finally have him arraigned because we got him to sign a piece of paper. Yes, proceed to hear and determine the case without the intervention of a jury. They got him to agree to everything they wanted, and they went ahead and, finished their deal. The evidence of the Commonwealth having been summarized and stipulated to by the defendant and by counsel, the defendant offering no evidence herein. Good job there, attorney. You didn't point out, hey, we got like 4 different cases going on with 4 or 5 different plaintiffs and court numbers and indictment numbers. No, you didn't bring that shit up. No, you need to plead guilty. That's what you need to do. Right, that's what they did to Anwar. That's what they did to a veteran. That's what an Esquire did to a veteran in Newport News, Virginia, which makes all sorts of money off of the naval base there. Right? And so, here's all the things he agreed to: incarceration, Department of Corrections, suspended for 6 months, da-da-da, 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 credit for time served. Yeah, okay, right? And now, here it's in writing with a different indictment number on it, right? Or this is agreed to by the defendant and the attorney for the Commonwealth, right? Again, this is 003019. It's the same one on here, but the indictment was 19-00030, right? They switched the 30 and the 19. It's not even about the zeros. It's about the fact they changed the order of the numbers. Right? Circuit Court for the City of Newport News. That's not the frickin' court of the Virginia judicial system. It's the Newport News Circuit Court. So, if somebody tells you that you can go get relief in a court, they're lying to you, because this is the shit that they do. They do it to everybody. It's fucking sad. Very, very sad. Now we're finally getting an order. Well, now that we got all our paperwork straightened out, let's go ahead and seal the deal. Ordered, adjudged, and decreed. And then they all went out and had a beer afterwards and talked about how they screwed another veteran. That's what I believe they did. Right? And then finally, now he wants to appeal, and they got him appealing to the City of Newport News. Well, according to the federal government, it's Newport News City. All right, that's the FIPS code. Why would he be appealing the City of Newport News? If he had been in a state judicial hearing, he would be appealing the Newport News Circuit Court. You can see what's going on, and it's not good. All right, there was one other stack of papers he had with this that has some interesting documents just to talk about, so let me show them to you. So hang on a second. So, anyways, an arraignment then signifies the calling of the defendant to the bar of the court to answer the accusations contained in the indictment. The man had spent 8 months in jail. He had a chance to answer yet. Right? He had not had an arraignment. That happened in October. He'd been in jail since February. Right? He didn't get a preliminary hearing. So in a criminal prosecution, the court schedules an arraignment at which the charges are formally presented to the defendant. In many states, criminal charges may be commenced. The prosecutors filing information. Well, we didn't use that. They did an indictment. If the defendant does not plead the arraignment, so if the plaintiff does not plead guilty at the arraignment, right, the court schedules a preliminary hearing. Well, they got him to plead guilty at the arraignment because they had the arraignment in fucking October. When an indictment is obtained through means other than an information, such as through a grand jury proceeding, which is what they simulated doing, or after an arrest when the defendant is first brought to the court, the arraignment may be described using such terms as initial hearing, preliminary arraignment, creating the possibility of confusion with preliminary hearing as described in this article. Those hearings are not probable cause hearings. So first you have to have an arraignment, and then you get to have your preliminary hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. But they didn't do that. Right? And the reason that's important, if you remember that block that I showed where, it showed he didn't waive his preliminary hearing, but he never had one. Okay, hang on again. Okay, so, really that was the court case to the end. Now, this is more like at the beginning where the state of North Carolina, right, issued this to the sheriff, other officers of the state of North Carolina, whereas it has been presented to the governor, represented to me by the governor of Virginia, that Anwar Farah Congress stands charged with the crime of kidnapping, which she certifies to be a crime under the laws of the state committed in the city of Newport News, in the said state, without bond, deliver to Smith, then deliver to the designated agents, basically. And whereas the said representation demand is accompanied by the agent's commission, indictment, capias, or allied papers, and I believe what they used the capias, right? They didn't bring the indictment. It would have been the capias, duly charged with said crimes. Without bond, such opportunity. So they're supposed to take him now. Whoever he or she may be found within the state of North Carolina, and forward him or her such opportunity to pursue a writ of habeas corpus as otherwise prescribed by the laws of this state, and to thereafter deliver the said accused to the custody of the above named agents. So before he goes to the agents, he's supposed to have a chance to pursue a writ of habeas corpus. All right, that's what the governor said. There's the seal, got the name. Yeah, they got an extradition secretary. Hey, that's interesting. Got an office of the extradition secretary. So apparently this is on the back of that document, because this says page 1 of 2. And this says page 2 of 2. So you have to assume this is the other side or another page, right? Where I do certify I've executed the within warrant by serving the said Anwar Farah Congress and accused name herein this 11th day of December 2019. Well, I thought you were supposed to arrest him, but they just served him. Right? Didn't say they took him to the court or anything, and then there's no evidence that they ever gave him to the agent. Well, then how did he end up in Virginia? Right? He wasn't given to the agent. And with that then came this letter from this is from the Angie West Bird, who is the extradition secretary. Anwar, there's her email address, right? Enclosed, you're going to find the governor's warrant. Upon arrest, I tell you got to do these things, per this general statute, which is basically on demand made for their surrender and a crime which they are charged, the entitlement to counsel, and reasonable time within which she may apply for writ of habeas corpus. Let's go read that law. Let's see what that says. No person arrested upon such warrant shall be delivered over to the agent whom the executive authority demanding him have appointed to receive him, unless she first shall be taken forthwith before a judge of a court of record in this state, who shall inform him of the demand made for his surrender and of the crime in which he is charged, and that he has the right to demand and procure legal counsel, and if the prisoner or his counsel shall state that he or she or they desire to test the legality of his arrest, the judge of such court of record shall fix a reasonable time to be allowed for him within which to apply for a writ of habeas corpus. All right, now that's specifically what the law says to do, and I'm sure that that isn't what happened. Now, they never handed him over, right? So, you tell me, how is it that the sheriff served the warrant on Anwar, but he didn't get taken to a judge, and he didn't get turned over to the agents? But that's what happened. And then any officer who shall deliver to the agent for extradition of the demanding state a person in his custody under the governor's warrant in willful disobedience shall be guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. So I don't know if Anwar can use any of this information with the people, by going to the people committing the crime to have it, have them make it right. That isn't going to happen. But hopefully he can take it to the military to say, hey, this happened to me. Oh, that's the other thing. Anwar is a disability retired from the military. So he actually has an ID card still. So he has access to all the things that are in the military. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to take it like the JAG and get them involved in this. Go talk to the commanding officer, whatever it takes, right? Just put an end to this shit, because if veterans can't get it done, it's not going to be able to be done, right? If this is a military jurisdiction and the veterans can't get relief in a military jurisdiction, then it's time for all the active duty in the military to frickin' leave. But really, that isn't time for that. Now it's time to, turn around and go talk to the people in them offices and get them to do the right thing. Because someday, all those, now serving members will be veterans. And requisition demand, agent authorization. This is to the governor. So this is coming from Virginia to North Carolina, saying, give up Anwar. Got a seal. Now, what I had pointed out in my last video, right, that when the governor of Michigan uses a seal, the seal is actually a counterfeit of the Great Seal of the state, because the words around the edge aren't the same as what's written into the state law. And I'm not sure what it is for Virginia or North Carolina, but I know, there's the seals, so we know what they used. It's just a matter of finding out, what should be on there. Is this the right wording? The Great Seal of the state of North Carolina? Or should it just be Great Seal of the state of North Carolina, which was kind of like mine was. And in Michigan, all the words were lowercase except the word Michigan at the end. Great Seal of the state of Michigan. Michigan was the only capitalized word. That's how it's supposed to be, but it looks more like this, where it'd say the Great Seal of the state of Michigan on it, right? That's what my alleged governor uses. Okay. We're about done here, I think. Where are we at? Okay, and then I'm really doing this now for Anwar, because Anwar, they had these. Where's the foregoing certificate? I, Tracy Hayes, Chief Deputy Clerk of the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News, Virginia, certify that Gary A. Mills, whose genuine signature is affixed to the foregoing certificate, is and was at the time the same the Chief Judge of the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News, Virginia. Well, why are we going to the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News, Virginia? So that's what that one says. We got Gary, actually we got Tracy, certifying for Gary. And we got Gary certifying for Tracy. Well, how does that work? And then we got Tracy certifying for Jennifer M. Williams. Right? And all of them saying there's a foregoing certificate, and there's nothing on here. There's just this page. So they're hiding the other piece of the paper. Anwar. And here's the capias that they issued for him on January 14th, 2019, saying that he committed that crime. But there was no return date on it. Didn't show it was executed. And this is the way it was filed in the clerk's office, right? That's where he got it from. So in the clerk's office, it was never executed. No return date, no arresting officer, nothing. This is the back of the complaint page. This is the front page, so hang on a second. I'll flip this around. So this is supposed to be a complaint affidavit, right, out of Newport News, where there's no charges listed. It says, before me, this date previously appeared, whoever the hell that is. That's the same person that was on the other one with, supposed to have been the complainant. Who first being duly sworn deposes and says that on that date, that address, the above named defendant committed the above the offenses charged, the above offenses charged, and the facts showing probable cause to believe that the same as follows. Well, there's no charges. Right? Then they go through what happened on this particular day. Not full legal name wife. Right? Came to the headquarters, filed a report on not full legal name Anwar. About order stated the father, Miss Congress shall return the child in common, which they had the child's full legal name, which is interesting. They put children's full legal name on these documents, but they don't put the parents. Right? So apparently, once you turn 18, you lose your full legal name. Until then, they keep you in your full legal name. Right? He did not waive his preliminary hearing, because he never had one, because he didn't get arraigned until the day that he signed a piece of paper to stipulate that he was agreeing to the, to whatever it was they were offering, so he could get his ass out of jail. But all this stuff has been put into the Newport News Circuit Court, right? This is the indictment number they were supposed to be working on, but R19-00030, but that isn't the indictment number that was used on most of the documents, as you saw, and it just goes on and on and on. It's wrong. Circuit Court for the City of Newport News, not the Newport News Circuit Court. Right here it is, right in the Circuit Court for the City of Newport News, right? But it went into the Newport News Circuit Court. Strange stuff we're looking at here, folks. Right? Commonwealth by itself. Anyways, that's what I'm talking about, right? I'm going to leave it there. Just wanted to go through these documents to show that if you're involved in a court case, right, there's a lot of shit going on in the background that has nothing to do with your best interest. And it isn't just Newport News. This is just business as usual in any court. This isn't because Anwar is African American, right? They do this to a white man, do it to a black man, brown man, red man. They don't care. They do it. They treat everybody the same, right? They screw everybody. And so the ones that are doing it are the esquires, right? This is all being done by esquires and their accomplices, but it's esquires that are acting as the attorneys and acting as the judge. And I've joined a organization called, whatever the state bar is, which by doing it, they've agreed to give up their First Amendment rights, right? So what that shows is that the bar advocates the overthrow of our constitutional form of government because it requires its members to give up its constitutional protections. And then they're going to judge the rest of us. I just think there's something wrong with that. Okay, I hope you found it interesting and, well, I don't know how useful it is to you. If you don't have a court case, it's of no use, but you need to know these things, right? That people who go to court and have all their stuff taken, it's being done in courts like this, right? Because we're looking at a felony case, but they do the same thing if it's a foreclosure, tax case, traffic case, whatever. And from the beginning, here's the warrant of arrest. It's got some number on there that who the hell knows what this number is? Where did that come from? I mean, what is that? A 7? A T? What is this? Right? But it's not the case number that is being taken, out to be appealed in another fictitious court that's going to be acting like it's a court of the state. So, okay, that's all I had for you, right? So, Newport News. Is an alien enemy belligerent? Because Newport News is a municipal corporation, which is an artificial person, which is different than a person. In fact, I do want to show you that just so I had. Hang on again. All right, so here, Webster's Dictionary 1828. Let's see what Webster says a person is. I'll go with what he says. Person, an individual human being consisting of a body and a soul. We apply the word to living beings only, possessed of a rational nature. The body, when dead, is not called a person. It is applied alike to man, woman, and child. Right? So, artificial person is not the same as a person. Right? It's a term with a different definition than a person. But just a person is an individual human being consisting of a body and a soul. And that's what they take away from you. They screw with your person. They take your name away from you and basically remove your soul from your body. So, Talmudic law, spiritual court, black robe priest, all that stuff. Okay, yeah, that's enough. You guys get what I'm talking about. We'll let you know how this turns out. See you now.